Greetings, boils and ghouls. Welcome to Midnight Movie Massacre. Today we're going to be talking about the 1982 slasher classic, The Slumber Party Massacre. This was directed by Amy Holden Jones. It was written by Rita Mae Brown, distributed by New World Pictures, and released on September 10th of 1982. Whole 2 months later on the East Coast for some reason. Basic gist of this bitch is, girls getting together, some of her friends, senior year, to have a good slumber party to sort of say goodbye to the old days and usher themselves into adulthood. Just so happens that there's an escaped maniac running around killing people with a power drill. Put the two together and you get this movie out of it. Nothing terribly original about it, though it is a hell of a lot of fun. Everybody kind of gives it their all with their performances, so none of it feels too cheesy or campy. Sort of the perfect balance between being somewhat of a tribute slash parody of slasher movies and a serious slasher movie in its own right. The fact that they tell you who the killer is right away and you immediately see his face leaves no mystery there, but weirdly enough, through the whole movie, you start seeing other people that could have easily been the killer if they decided to go for some type of a twist ending with it. Which I think is part of the humor that they were putting into it, and it's pretty effective, if I have to say so myself. Because you find yourself just sort of realizing that any motherfucker in it almost could be the killer if you didn't already know who the killer was. So you could say there's some missed opportunity to build suspense by doing that, but I think it also cuts out a lot of the bullshit and allows this movie to just get its legs real quick and turn into exactly what you want it to be, which is just a silly little midnight slasher flick to enjoy while you pump some beer and popcorn into your body. And it delivers, let me tell you. Now you might be thinking to yourself, this is written and directed by ladies, so the gratuitousness that you come to expect with slasher movies and the tits and ass may have been held back on a bit. Absolutely not the case here. I don't know if it's because these girls were trying to exist in a man's world and do what we expected, or they just had a lot of fun making this, but they managed to showcase some tits and ass. They managed to showcase some cool stuff from the point of view of these chicks that, you don't necessarily get to see in other horror movies, like them oogling boys or just being brats to each other. It's a whole hell of a lot of fun. At no point does it feel like a feminist power trip. It's just a fun little slasher flick that doesn't try to be anything more than it is and absolutely succeeds at what it's trying to be, which is like an hour and a half of boobs and bloodshed, really. Only thing that's kind of disappointing about Slumber Party Massacre is the gore level. I don't know if it's the cut that I watched. I imagine it was uncut, as all of the nudity and all the other blood and gore was in there. I think they just really could only afford to pull off the one actual on-screen drill kill, if you want to call it that. The other stuff happens off-screen, but they do some neat stuff like making the guy gurgle all crazy before you see him flop down in the frame. That makes it even sort of more explicit than it would be if you saw the drill just tearing through motherfuckers. That aside, though, I think the movie delivers on all fronts, even though it's lacking a bit in the fucking guts and gore. It makes up for it with a hell of a lot of character and a pretty badass NES style soundtrack, so definitely worth checking out if you're a fan of 80s slasher flicks, and it's got a pretty decent sequel that followed it as well.